So today I've focused a little bit to help us understand what are these pointers. So I prepared a document. I'll just share that. And we will just look at this document. Now, the pointers used in Upanishad, also in Gita and other Vedanta commentaries, what are they? The scriptures through the acharyas give the teachings of the ultimate reality through various means. What are these means? So there are two categories. I have created this based on all the texts. How is Atma Paramatma pointed out in Shastras? There are primary pointers and then there are supplementary pointers. First, let's look at what are the primary pointers. So the primary pointers are these direct pointers, like say, for example, the Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi, Om, and also in this one, in our, see, Tattvamasi is one of the Mahavakyas. What is it doing? It is pointing directly, you are that Parabrahman, that Tat, that Parabrahman, Tvam, you are that. So that is the pointer, Aham Brahmasmi, all that. In Kathopanishad, there is no specific Mahavakya like that. But in Kathopanishad, there came that when he was asked, Anyatra Dharma, Anyatra Dharma, the first mantra he says, Sarve Veda Yat Padamamananti. And then he went on to say, Om Ityetat. So he pointed that the highest truth is Om. Etadevaksharam param, etadevaksharam shreshtam, etadevaksharam param. So etadevaksharam Brahma, that highest Brahman is that Om. And then there are other things such as we talk about Sachidananda, Nitya Shuddha Mukta Buddha and all that. The one of the aspect in this, for a qualified student, the pointer through that guru is enough. No formal method is necessary. And this is applicable for very highly qualified people like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Totapuri came to him and just told him, and Ramakrishna Paramahamsa realized that truth directly. He was in that first days together. Similarly, Ramana Maharshi. But there is what we call the grace of God and gurus are essential. You don't need a formal teaching. Now comes the Vedantic methodology. What it focuses mostly on what we call as indirect pointers. What are the indirect pointers? This is one is called the neti neti, like how we are doing now. It is not this, it is not the touch, it is not the taste, it is not the smell. Or as it came before, indriyebhya paravartha, meaning it is above this, it is above this, it is above this. That's superior, that how this is, something is superior. So based on this, what Vedanta does comes up with what is called as all these prakriyas. Panchakosha, Drigdrishya Viveka, Avastatraya, all these are Viveka prakriyas. And so to do this, like what we are doing now, we need to go through a formal method of teaching. Why we need the formal method? Because it is the building blocks on which we can understand Tattvamasi. It is that building blocks through which we can understand Om and that Satchitananda, that we need to go through the formal thing. And then there is the relative pointers, which Vedas are giving in general. And that is where it talks about the Jiva. Jiva means that which is at that Vyasti. So the Vyasti and that Samasti. Samasti is that Hiranyagarbha, Ishvara, God at the macroscopic level. So the relation between the Vyasti and the Samasti. So this relation, what we call as the relation between that individual self and the universal self. And in order to do that, there is all this karma kanda, upasanas, meditations and all that. What they do is they told us how we can get to realize this samasti. But now what Vedanta is doing is it uses these topics, which is the basis of religion also, such as Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism or whatever we call it. That on which the religion is based, it takes a step further and says that you have to go beyond this. So the Vedanta's direct or indirect pointers use these relative pointers. Okay. Now comes another supplementary pointers. What are these supplementary pointers? These are not direct pointers. These are necessary for us to even work with the pointers. What is it? One is adhikaratvam, which many shlokas talk about that. What is the sadhana chatushtaya, which is, as we all know, it is a viveka, vairagya, and Shat Sampatti and Mumukshutva and all that. And then there is the Phalam. What is the Phalam? Meaning that Mahatmya. What is the greatness? The immediacy, like how we just read. The Uttishtata Jagrata. Go do this, go do that. Why? Because it was, as it was mentioned in other shlokas, you will be free of all grief. Shoka moha. You'll be vimuchyate. Abhayam. Abhayam pratistam. You will be established in fearlessness. So all that is, and also in contrast to that is that, like it talks about the suffering. If you don't go through this, if you don't understand this, then you're subject to samsara, you're subject to the suffering. And then what is called as, it also extols a jnana abhyasa. That how do you abide in the self? That is mainly through what in Vedanta we call as Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. But there is also related to that other things like Saguna Upasana, Acharya Upasana, doing seva, service, following Yama Niyama. These will give us the Kripa, grace, and Antakarana Shuddhi. So now, if we put this together, how do we, what is the best way to understand this? It's like, something like this. So there are three things. The three most important things. What are the three most important? There is a top, there is a direct pointers, which is what I said, Mahavakya or Om and all that. The direct nature of Atma or Brahman is pointed out. Satchidananda, Nitya Shuddha Mukta and all that. Then there is that indirect, which is that what we are mostly focusing on, where we are talking about, like we are trying to understand that what is that nature of anatma. So once we know the nature of anatma, we can strike it off. So that will take us to then help us to understand the direct pointings of atma. And similarly, the relative, that relative also is focusing on the anatma, but at a superior level. So that also is what is negated, so that we can get the direct. And then the supporting blocks of this is that supplementary pointers, which is the what we talked here as jnana abhyasa, mahatmyam, and adhikaratva. So mainly what we are looking here, why are we doing all this? All the shlokas in Upanishad, if you look at it, it can be categorized like this. And once we are able to categorize, we are able to know what is the purpose of this shloka. So this is also like anybody, becomes a acharya. You should know this prakriya and be able to see, this is a direct pointer, this is an indirect pointer, this is a relative pointer. Then what happens? We will not look for something else in that shloka. We can now look at some of the shlokas in the third valley. So maybe if Giridhar, if you can project it, let us start with the current shloka we are doing. If you like, this is a homework that all of you should do, but we will do some together so that we get a hang of this, how the pointers work and how the shlokas, all the Upanishad shlokas are working. So now look at this mantra. What is this mantra doing? Ashabdam asparsha marupam tatharasam nitya maganda vachayat. So most important pointer, what is the most important pointer in this? Of all the pointers I may explain. Which pointer?
Indirect. Indirect.
Why is this indirect? What is it doing? How is it?
Neti neti.
Or neti
Ah,
neti.
correct. Neti neti, and it is also doing one more thing also. What is it doing?
Relative,
Relative. Why is it relative?
because it is negating.
Ha. It is negating, but one way we can say it is relative is because it says it is distinct from Mahat. Meaning that Mahat is the goal of most karma kandas, So it is saying it is not even that, it is distinct from that. There is also a negation indirect process, indirect pointer, but we can also say to some extent it is relative. And then it's set for, there is also one more pointer in this, but the most important pointer is indirect pointer, but the phalam is also pointed out, the supplementary pointer, or the mahatmyam, the result. What is the greatness or the result of this pointer? It is saying,
One becomes freed from the
ah,
jaws of death.
correct. One
Yeah.
becomes free from the jaw. Mrityumukhat pramuchyate. That is the greatness of this. Okay, so let us just look at some mantras. Girida, can you just go backwards? So this one, what is this doing? Mahatav Paramavyaktam. It is higher, it is saying. So just focus on these two. Is it a direct pointer or indirect pointer?
It is a direct pointer, and it is saying it is higher. So it is differentiating between this thing. So it is also a relative pointer.
It is relative pointer, that is true. But mostly, is it direct or indirect? You said it's direct. Anybody indirect? Anybody want to say? But you have to justify if you're saying indirect. Why it is saying indirect?
It seems pretty direct to me. This is higher than that.
So see, this mantra is a good one to understand. This is the Vedanta methodology. See, the direct pointer, as I mentioned, right? You can know it without Vedanta also. See, for understanding this direct pointer, you don't need a lot of teachings. I mean, if you have, of course, you need a lot of teaching if you are not qualified. You will get it very fast, like things. So, indirect pointers are those where you need a formal teaching. Now, why is this indirect? Is because you need to know what is Mahat. You need to know what is that Avyakta. You need to know what is that, and all the things which came before that also. So when you say Purusha, it should be so clear that it is not Avyakta, it is not Mahat, it is not Manas and all that. So if we have to do, then it is similar to the Panchakosha, right? See, if you what we are doing with Panchakosha, I have to know the body and I'm not the body. I have to know Pranamaya, I'm not the prana. I have to know the intellect, I'm not that. See, when we are focusing on understanding that, and that is when we can negate that. So here, when it is saying it is higher than that, it is a process of negation in a way, indirect pointer. It is saying it is not this, but higher than that. It is not that, but higher than that. So that is the essence of indirect pointers. Now, if you look at that, what is that main point? When we are understanding the indirect pointers, the most important point is we have to go through a lot of Shravana Manana for indirect pointers. Meaning you have to listen, you have to be clear, and you have to think, or you have to discuss with your teacher and become clear. That is the most important aspect of indirect and relative, both indirect and relative. This is the important thing. For the direct pointers, so maybe we can just go to a little one more shloka. Not correct. This one. See this one. Sarve Veda yat padamamananti. Tapansi sarvani cha yat vadanti. Yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti. So here, what kind of pointer is this?
Relative.
Why is this relative?
It's through the knowledge and the Vedas and other things.
Correct. But the ending of that, what is it doing towards the end of it?
Pointing directly.
Ah,
Direct.
what is it doing? Om ityetat.
Om.
That if you actually, if you cut this part, if you do that sandhi here, what it shows is Om ityetat. It is that, it is Om, it is saying, it is Om, Om, Om. So then what do you have to do? If you are that very high level sadhaka who has understood that all these things, then you don't need to study all this. You just sit and meditate on that Om and realize that Om. So that is that what we call the nididhyasana. But nididhyasana is usually comes after you have understand the essence of the Vedanta. It is after the teaching. Since we are ending the first chapter, you look at the thing and use those things to understand what is the pointer that is given. What pointer is being used in which shloka? See, every shloka predominantly uses one pointer. There may be other pointers also in every shloka, but predominantly there will be one pointer in a shloka. So that will help us to understand whether we have to, study that shloka properly, or we have to meditate on that shloka, or we have to improve our qualification to understand that shloka, or we just have to be grateful or appreciate that shloka. That is how, each shloka we decide the merit of the shloka based on that. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.